Yeah.
Dawson was my boy that really spurred me on to seek out private training. He was a great dog, and by the time I had Dawson, I had quite a few dogs in my home, and hadn't really gotten into training too much. My dogs were mostly greyhound rescues, and they were either coming through on their way to their forever home, or sometimes they were foster failures and they'd end up staying, but they were actually pretty easy.
Yeah.
They just liked to sleep a lot and go for walks, and they were easy.
Good.
So then I got my first border collie, Alice, and she was pretty easy too, which is kind of unusual for a first border collie for somebody who didn't know what they were doing. And I didn't. And then I got Dawson, and he was really fun and not a hard dog, really. But as he got sort of toward middle age,
Hmm.
he started developing some behaviors that I couldn't really understand.
How
That
old was he when you got him?
he was pretty young, like less than a year.
Okay.
And have you ever had a dog like that where, everything kind of was cool, and then
Yeah.
as time went on, behaviors just started cropping up?
Yeah. It's very strange. What
Yeah, and
happened?
it's hard to understand. And this dog was fine, and then all of a sudden there's these behaviors, and I don't see the
Yeah.
behaviors all the time, so maybe
Right.
it was a fluke and maybe they'll get better. But they didn't get better.
Yeah.
They just kept getting worse. And what was happening was it was always on leash
Hmm.
or at the fence. So on leash, he would just lose his mind, like barking, lunging, growling when we would either see certain dogs, not all dogs,
Oh, really?
just certain dogs. Or if we went by a fence and there happened to be a dog behind the fence, he would just lose his mind.
Poor
So we
guy.
started walking at 5 o'clock in the morning when we didn't see so many dogs. But again, it just kind of progressively got worse. And I don't know about you, but I just started feeling like I was kind of a bad owner.
Oh, yeah, but that's never the case.
But you feel like that,
Yeah,
right?
you do feel that way. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So I sought out some private training, and I realized that not only was he not completely broken, for sure,
Mm.
but what was going on actually had a name. And it sounds kind of weird, maybe, but when I found out that what he was exhibiting was referred to as leash reactivity, it had a name. He wasn't, a broken dog. He just
Right.
had some things that needed some support. Then just even knowing that it had a name,
Yeah.
like, helped a
Right.
lot.
Oftentimes
So it
that means
was
you're not
as
alone.
what?
It
Yes.
means you're not alone doing it. Yeah.
Yes, that was exactly right. Yeah. So if this thing has a name, my dog can't be the only one.
Right.
Obviously, other people have seen this, they've worked on it. So as we learned techniques and I found out that there were things that were effective, it just changed my whole outlook, changed my
Yeah.
whole outlook on my dog, on myself. And I always say it sounds a little over dramatic, but it kind of changed my life.
It does. So
And that's when I decided that, hey, I think I would like to help people in the same way that I
yeah.
was helped. So
That's
that's
so sweet.
that's the backstory.
He was such a good boy, I bet.
He was, and he was so beautiful.
Yeah. Was he a greyhound or a border collie?
He was border collie Australian shepherd mix.
Oh. Did you have any greyhounds in the house as well?
He did, and he was so good with the greyhounds. He actually,
Oh.
at home, he was pretty great. And every time we
Yeah.
had another foster greyhound come in, he welcomed them. He didn't have a problem. He never had
Oh.
a problem with people coming to the house. He loved all my friends. And that's why it was so hard when I saw these weird behaviors out and about, because I wanted everyone to see the sweet dog that I saw at home.
Yeah. Aw. I bet he was the best.
He was a good guy. He was
It
really
is nice when there is like a name and you know people can help you with things like that because it can be so isolating when you're walking at 5 a.m. and you just, this is my only option, but it doesn't have to be your only option, which is nice.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think sometimes people think trainers, don't have those issues, but
Right.
I've had dogs since Dawson, and Dawson wasn't perfect after I just had techniques to deal with the
Right.
issues. And dogs, after him, they weren't perfect either. And I think sometimes people think, oh, trainers, their dogs are just, you know, all perfect and do everything they're
Huge
supposed to do.
misconception.
Yeah. So which dog or dogs
Yeah.
were the catalyst for you?
Well, my current dog Brody, of course, has I've had him since he was 4, and he's almost 12. Such a crime. Um,
I
but
believe
he
it.
comes with a whole slew of behavioral problems, and the main one was separation anxiety. And I never really had the tools to help him the best with that, which in hindsight, I should have sought more help. But now I can help him and support him in those struggle moments. And he also has other weird behaviors. He's a nervous guy all around, and he can show aggression towards my partner and all that type of stuff. So I really started researching what can I do to help this dog because I just love him so much. And just like with Dawson, he's such a sweet and loving dog, but sometimes people don't get to see that side of him. And so I would just research ways to help him, how to support him, and that just really got me down the internet hole of how to become a trainer. And then I was just fixated on that, reading how to become a dog trainer. And there's so many avenues. I didn't really know which way to go. So I got Brody the support he needed and, helped him through that and learned how to deal with him, manage his symptoms and his whole thing, right? We have a whole thing in place now. And then kind of gave up on the training idea, and then we got a sweet little puppy, Fiona. She was a little pug. She was the sweetest. And took her to puppy class with Kay, of course. And then I was like, I should just be doing this. I love coming to class. I love when Fiona learns fun things. I love the bond that we get to create. And then she turned out to be pretty reactive on leash, similar to Dawson. So it was great to have those tools to help her out too. But really, between Brody and Fiona, there were so many behavioral issues that it was so nice to have a trainer to lean on and then learn for myself how I can just help them in the home. And then I wanted to help people too, especially with reactivity, because it's just so isolating for people when they just don't know what to do and you feel like you're all alone and there's no one who understands why your dog is barking at these other dogs, but at home they were just cuddling you and it was the best. And so helping people in that way really became a big passion of mine. And the tips and tricks and techniques and everything we put in your toolbox can be so effective, oftentimes not quickly, but just seeing that progression over time is just so rewarding in the long run. And it's just been the best. So between Brody and Fiona, they just pushed me to do this for myself, which has been the best choice I've ever made for sure.
Well, talking about just the little increments of progress. I was talking to somebody recently about not dog training necessarily, but kind of just anytime you're on a path, if you can see just little green lights, it doesn't have to be a constant green light, but just the little green lights that come and the little moments of wow, that keeps you going.
It really does. And I feel like oftentimes as the trainer, I'm able to see those differently than the owners or guardians are able to. So when I'm able to point that out, it's really reassuring to people who are working with their dogs who don't see it, and then keeps everybody on track and focused on the long-term goals. It is the best. The little green lights really make a huge difference.